23andMe genetic and ancestry results. Basically submitted a saliva sample like 5 weeks ago. It's a really simple process. They send you this syringe type thing and you just put saliva in there and they show you like what stage your sample is in, and I don't know, I would recommend the service. I feel like it was pretty convenient. It is expensive though. If you just want the ancestry done, it's $100, and it's around $200 if you want the health done as well. I personally got the Father's Day discount, which is the reason why I got it. I was like, if there's a time to do it, it's probably now with the discount. I didn't think that I would find anything interesting, mainly because as far as I know, my family is from the eastern part of India, Orissa, and we have practiced like intercaste and arranged marriage for the longest time, so there hasn't been much mixing in my family. For my ancestry composition, I am 99.2% South Asian, which is like the highest percentage I've ever seen. I watched a few videos of like I haven't found that many South Asian people who have done the testing yet, but they definitely had lower percentages than me. A lot of people had like around 95% South Asian, but I am like 99.2. To give you a breakdown of what they consider South Asian here. So South Asian is Afghan, Balochi, Bangladeshi, Brahui, Burusha, Hazara, Indian, Kalash, Makrani, Nepalese, Pakistani, Pathan, Sindhi, Sri Lankan, Uyghur, which is a pretty big range of ethnicities. The other like 0.8%, I don't know if it's true because there has to be some margin of error, right? But I don't know, maybe it's true. So I got 0.3% European, and specifically the 0.3% is Scandinavian. Scandinavian, if you don't know, is Danish, Norwegian, and Swedish, which is kind of random because India was colonized by the British. So I'm like, where did the Scandinavian come from? Scandinavian relative of mine is most likely a 4th great-grandparent, 5th great-grandparent, 6th great-grandparent, or 7th great or greater grandparent who was 100% Scandinavian. This person was likely born between 1720 and 1810. And I was like, oh, that's actually not that long ago. Like, I thought maybe the relative was from like, I don't know, 800 AD or something, but that's not too long ago, you know? Maybe it's true. I asked my dad and he was like, that's possible. The next category is East Asian and Native American, which is like a pretty big category. The breakdown is I'm 0.2% Southeast Asian. Southeast Asian is Burmese, Cambodian, Indonesian, Lao, Malaysian, Filipino, Thai, Vietnamese. I think if I am Southeast Asian, maybe I'm Burmese, or I might be Indonesian also, because I think Indonesia or Bali was like a maritime port. I don't know if that's the correct term. There was some sort of relation between Bali and Odisha, and actually Bali means sand in Odia, and I guess like we named the island, I don't know. And I also have like less than 0.1% broadly East Asian, Native American, so maybe like Chinese. I don't know. China is not that far from India, so that's possible. And less than 0.1% broadly Oceanian, and Oceanian is like non-Melanesian, Palawan, and Tongan. I feel like that's not true, but who knows. Another cool thing about the ancestry thing is they actually give you an option of like connecting with people who they think are related to you. And so I signed up for that, and then I was looking at my relatives and they were like all white. Like I think there were 2 Indian people on the list, but they were all white, and they were like, oh yeah, this is your predicted 4th or 5th cousin. And I'm like, I don't know about that. The health screening or whatever, they tell you if you are a possible carrier of certain conditions. I don't even know all of these. Like I know like Bloom syndrome, cystic fibrosis. There's just this whole list. And sickle cell anemia, I know that one. But when I look at it, like they didn't find any variants for any of those conditions, which is probably a good thing. I mean, you know, we do have health problems in my family, but none of the ones that were listed here. Tell you if you have a genetic health risk for Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, thrombophilia, And yeah, that was not detected in me either. You can never be 100% sure that you're not gonna get a certain disease or condition. And then there was a pretty interesting section which tells you about traits and like traits you most likely have. Like for example, can you detect asparagus odor in your pee? It says most likely I can. But it also said that I can't taste bitter, but I know I can taste bitter. It basically tells me my genetic likelihood is 65% that I can't taste bitter, but it's 35% that I can taste. And it shows you those likelihoods and also compares it to other South Asian customers. It says that I'm more likely to prefer salty food over sweet, which is true. No cheek dimples. Yeah, I don't have dimples. I wish I did, but no. But it told me that my chances of getting dimples were 44%, which is pretty high. Like, why didn't I get dimples? What the heck? My earwax type is likely wet earwax, which I think is true. I don't really have crusty earwax. Color, likely darker eyes, which is, yeah, I have very, very dark eyes. But it does tell me that I had a 1% chance of having green eyes, which is very, very low. In my family, no one really has like colored eyes, at least as far as I know. I know some Ordia people do, but just in my family, we don't. Length ratio, likely ring finger longer. That's not true. This finger is a lot longer than my ring finger. Freckles, likely little freckling. So yeah, I don't get freckles ever, really. Hair curliness, likely straight or wavy, which I think is really cool that they guessed that because my mom actually has curly hair. 17% chance of having like straight hair, 41% slightly wavy, 25% wavy. I had a 10% chance of having big curls, which my mom has very tight curls, I think. Or no, maybe she's considered having big curls. Light or dark hair, likely dark, true. I had a 2% chance of having dark blonde hair. I highly doubt that would have happened. And a 15% chance of having light brown. My hair is pretty black. I think like since I've dyed it, it's kind of become more brown. Like, is that a thing? I feel like my hair like from the roots has become more brown after I dyed it. Actually, in my family, we have a very high percentage of dark brown hair, 67%. Like I had a 67% chance of having dark brown hair. But I think my hair is black. Whereas for other South Asians, they have a 76% chance of having black hair and 23% of dark brown, which I think is pretty interesting. Newborn hair amount, likely little baby hair. Yeah, I was a bald baby. That's very true. Photic sneeze reflex, likely no photic sneeze reflex. That's like when you sneeze when you're exposed to a lot of sunlight. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who that happens to. Red hair, likely no red hair. Yeah, that's true. My chance of having red hair was 1%, which is actually higher than South Asian customers. Pigmentation, likely darker skin. So I think this one is kind of wrong because it tells me that most likely I would have a light brown skin tone, which I do have a light brown skin tone, but the color it shows here for light brown is pretty dark. So I think like I've always considered myself more olive or like medium skin tone. So it tells me here that I have 11% chance of olive skin and 21% of light beige, which I think I'm technically olive from what is the color range here. Toe length ratio, likely big toe longer. Yes, that is true. Unibrow, likely little or no unibrow, which, yeah. So basically it tells me right here that I have a 53% chance of a little unibrow. I don't necessarily have no unibrow, but I have a little unibrow, which, yeah, is true. I do have a little bit of a unibrow, especially if you look at my pictures from when I was little, like you can see that I had a little unibrow. And it also says, likely no widow's peak. Yeah, I don't have one. Lactose intolerance. It tells me I'm likely intolerant, but I do consume milk and cheese and dairy. I don't know, like I feel like I am slightly tolerant because if I have milk in moderation, I'm fine. But like if I eat a lot of ice cream in one day, then yeah, my stomach starts hurting. I knew I was like slightly intolerant, but I'm not like fully intolerant. Saturated fat and weight, likely similar weight. So basically what this means is that the more saturated fat I consume, I'm more likely to gain weight from that, and the less saturated fat I consume, I'm more likely to lose weight. Like some people, there's no real correlation. Like some people don't gain weight even if they consume a lot of saturated fat. Alcohol, flush reaction, unlikely to flush, very true. I don't turn red or anything. Unless like I've been working out really hard, then yeah, I have like a slight pink in my cheeks, but no. I feel like my skin color is too dark, and also it just doesn't react to things that way. Caffeine consumption, likely to consume less. Yeah, I don't have that much caffeine. I'm not someone who drinks coffee every day. Hey guys, so just ignore the mess that is behind me, but I was just editing my video and I realized that part of like the end of the clip got cut off, but I was almost at the end of the report and like there wasn't much else that I was gonna say, so it's not a huge deal, but I just wanted to insert this clip just to remind you guys to subscribe and like the video, and I will see you next time. Okay, bye!